Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to a chat with Jaay, who is part of Change for Spurs, leading the protest against Daniel Levy. Let's have a chat about it. So everyone in the chat, I hope you're all good and well. Obviously, I am joined here once again with better sound this time. He's on his laptop, not his phone, so my microphone sounds fine. I am with Jaay. How are you?
I'm good. Other than chest infection and everything else that seems to have hit me in the last week, I'm good. Just plugging away at trying to support this club. I think that's the best way to explain it. Stressful situation and timing.
Yeah, it's become a chore. It's become a real struggle. Obviously, just to let you guys know, we're going to do a few shows together. We've got an hour to do this, and the main thing we're going to cover on this hour is hopefully answering questions from you for Jaay about Change for Spurs, about plans ahead, or if you guys have any ideas, talking about the international fan base and what they can do, and also why we are in this state. Now, if you have a question for either I or Jaay, please put a capital Q and a dash so I can clearly see it in the chat. And if you have an idea, do the same, but put an I and a dash so I can clearly see it. Now, before we go any further, Jaay, I just want to say, and we're going to have a quick chat about this, about the glory and the absolute brilliance of Sunday's protest. Now, I can imagine how busy you've been, how many messages you've been receiving, how many calls you've had to make, how many emails you've had to bang out. But I just want to say on behalf of me and many Spurs fans that I have spoken to and you've seen on social media, what you and Change for Spurs did on Sunday, especially going dark and keeping everything under wraps, just want to say incredible job. Well done. Tell us about Sunday.
Yeah, obviously, as you touched on, it was tough for us because we had to go dead silent. And when I say completely silent on everything, it's very hard. As you know, I'm a very passionate fan, and my fingers run away with me on Twitter. I get excited, but with everything that me and all the guys at Change for Spurs managed to do, obviously we know it was disappointing. We weren't ready for Wolves, but delivery, Christmas period, it was just one of these situations where, timing was just off, and we managed to sort of get everything in place. We managed to arrange stuff getting into the stadium. It was just unreal. And when I say it went so much better than I think anybody could have imagined. And big up to the boys inside the stadium who helped. Obviously, I won't name them because they're season ticket holders, but they know who they are. And I just want to thank, obviously, everybody else as well. The support we've had for it has been absolutely incredible. Just overall, we're really happy with how it went. And obviously, there's going to be more to come, and we're not going to let up on it.
I mean, I will tell you now, obviously, people will know I have tried to organise many a protest, training ground and outside the home ground at the request of fans and other people that wanted change. Whether it would be deemed successful numbers-wise, maybe not. Attention-wise, most certainly grabbed attention, divide, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, I will say, when you didn't get the banners through and it didn't go ahead against Wolves, I know you got a lot of grief. I myself, but then you explained why I was able to speak to you, and then obviously you went quiet. I thought there was going to be a protest outside last Sunday. Obviously, wasn't to be, and now we all know why. I mean, how did you keep things so easily under wraps? I mean, it was expertly done.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of these situations where we've looked into different ways. Is it better to shout about and try and get every message across onto Twitter, for example, or was it better just for this one, just because we wanted to get it so right? And this is obviously the start. We decided between us that it was better just not to post any information. And if you had a look on my tweets just before the build up to the game, we were dropping hints stuff was happening. And people didn't know what we meant. There was questions. But we managed to do it, and obviously we've done it with not ease, because there's no such thing as ease, especially with Tottenham and all the stuff that comes with it. It was just one of these things that we had to get it right, and we decided as a collective group between us that keeping quiet and sort of not raising suspicion, but sort of keeping it away from people might have benefited, and it's worked. And this is what we say when there is going to be more, and obviously we're going to get into it, especially the United protest that we're planning. But yeah, we'll get onto that shortly.
We will do. What was I going to say to you? So obviously, people in the chat, please feel free to keep chatting. Sorry if I don't bring everything up, because I just want to give all focus to this. Now, what we will say with Sunday as well, I think Sunday, it was so well done that this time, not only was it the loudest that it's been in the stadium, but this time it clicked with big media, didn't it? Fabrizio Romano was retweeting your stuff, other people, and it's still being spoken about. I mean, I know from when I've done it, when Stel was doing it, when a lot of us started coming on YouTube and Levy out and got this ball rolling, so to speak. We've got some attention, but not mass attention. This time it has gone big, hasn't it?
Yeah, and as I said, it's gone bigger than sort of what this quickly anyway than what we could have expected. And I think now is the time to ask the fans to come together and really push for this, because it just shows that the fans do believe that they want change. And over the years, there's been so many fans that don't share the same views. Obviously, I've stood by your side at previous protests, Brian, and sort of you're the man that put me on this track. But it's now coming to the point where I'm having people who previously have slated protests, have picked holes in it, who have turned around and said, look, this has been amazing. Like, we're doing this for the club. We're willing to support. And obviously from here, we just hope everybody else wants to get involved.
Exactly. Like I said, people, if you do have questions, put a Q before it. And if you have an idea, put an I before it. It's solely so I can see it clearer, because the chat keeps going and going and going. Yeah, listen, what I do want to talk about next, and we're going to get on to Levy and what he has done to this football club very shortly. Obviously, shortly after that game being spoken about, everyone was going mad on social media. Everyone was going mad on YouTube or any other media. Then on Sunday, we had Ricky Sachs and Last Word of Spurs, a channel where people have questioned where they stand or why they haven't done anything. Obviously, Ricky came out very, very passionate and said Levy out, Enoch out, and is now obviously open to speaking. We had Sava at Football Heritage TV do a massive call to arms. It's I can only imagine what explain to people, just so they know, because I know people are trying to get hold of you. I know people are trying to get hold for Change for Spurs. I know people are just non-stop bombarding you. Explain to people just how busy it is and what you're trying to achieve and why it's sometimes taking time to get back to people.
I mean, obviously, I work full time. This is what, at the moment, I've got 2 young kids. I'm putting so much time into this, as well as obviously having to cook them some shit meals. No, I'm joking. Cook them some meals. But it's one of these things, alongside working full time. I mean, since being on here, my notifications have been crazy, and it's so hard to pick up all the messages. And believe me, I want to get back to everybody. I want to reply to everybody. I want to interact. And the best way, sort of, if you have ideas or want to get in contact and manage to get a plan in place, or speak to me or speak to anybody, just come through the Change for Spurs inbox. It's always open. We're always, obviously, there's a few of us that can jump on that account at any point of the day and pick it up and make sure that your message is sort of responded to.
Yeah, what I'm going to do very quickly, just to let you know, people that are putting super chats in and questions, I will deal with them at the end. I haven't forgotten them, rather than breaking the flow of the show. But what I am going to do is, whilst I ask you this question, Jay, because now let's get on to why this protest is going ahead. Why? Because obviously I have been this way for 17 years. And as I've said with people, now we've got the numbers. Now people change. There's always been a breaking point in someone. There were people before me that have been Levy out since the beginning. There were people before me and many others that decided at Martin Yole. Obviously, there's many, many differences when people go, right, that's it. I can't do it anymore. Obviously, we are fighting for Levy and Enoch out. And what is the mantra? And obviously, Change for Spurs have come up What is the whole idea behind it? And obviously, we will get on to Levy next.
Yeah, so the whole idea is change. As I've said this week all along, the biggest thing is we want change. We want to be a football club. And at this exact moment in time, we ain't a football club. We're laughing stock of Europe. We're laughing stock of the Premier League. I've seen Paddy Power put out more tweets about Tottenham in the last week than I've seen them fucking tweeting about sports.
Yep.
We are an absolute farce of a football club at the moment. And it all leads down to one person and one person in charge. And you can go off and you can say, oh, he's built us all this, which he has. There's credit goes to him. He's built the best stadium in Europe. He's built the best training facilities. But what's the point in providing the best fucking house if you're not going to put the furniture in it? It is a joke. And this is where we need to basically force the change. So the whole mantra behind Change for Tottenham is changing us into a team that will be competing, changing. And if that's change of Daniel Levy completely leaving or him stepping away, which unfortunately he's never going to step away from it. So the only way we can look at it is tell him to leave the club. And this is why everybody being involved and drumming up this attention towards him works for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I said, I mean, for me with Daniel Levy, it's been very clear for a long, long time. There is no care for the football club. There is no desire to win. There is no desire to bring silverware. There is no desire to bring elite players. We've had the managers, don't back them. Yeah, it's been 24 years. And I think when we go to it, January and this build-up of bad form, and obviously manager appointments, we could say what we want about the manager. I have become Ange, but you know what? It doesn't matter, because whoever that comes in next, the very same thing is going to happen. And when we see things like this, that I'm just going to bring up two slides very quickly from two friends of mine that I asked permission to share on Twitter. One is a very good friend of mine by the name of Terry O'Shea. We're going on about these defeats. This is a decline of this football club and where we've been going. So in the 3 Premier League seasons of 15 to 16, 16 to 17, 17 to 18, we played 114 Premier League games. We lost 17. This season, we've played 23 and lost 13. The drop-off and football negligence is insane. Now, before I bring up the other one, we'll have a quick chat about this, because if you look at it, the highest paid chairman, bonuses galore, but yeah, our wage bill our wage bill gets slashed. The managers, I mean, the drop in wages from Conte to Ange is more than half. But yeah, his keeps building. And that league, for when you sit there and see it, this season alone, when you're sitting there and you look at this club, and during a January transfer window, when you can bring some people in to help a manager, to help the team, it's just damning, isn't it?
Honestly, it's heartbreaking. And if you're a passionate Spurs fan and you see that, it's infuriating that we pay all this money to go to games, we pay all this money to buy kits, and be it if you're paying DHgate or if you're paying the club, you see sort of how we're acting as a club, and you think we're not a club. We're a franchise that uses the Tottenham Hotspur badge to be presented as one, and sort of it says everything you need to know. £6 million, I believe, Levy upped his salary this year. What other business rewards somebody for failure? And it's hard to explain, especially when you feel so drained, and it is draining. Supporting Spurs at the moment, every Sunday I feel like I'm dragging myself to watch the games, and you can tell what's going on. For example, tomorrow, I'm dreading it. And all it's going to take is another injury. And again, we're left short. And somebody's just put in the super chat, and I've just been texted about it. Spurs have tried to hijack the move for Kevin Danso to Wolves. But this is it. We're waiting on opportunities. And even then, it wouldn't surprise me if this bloke turns around and goes, why? Why would I go there? So, yeah, it's heartbreaking to see the salary caps. And obviously there was an amazing article this week released on our percentage to revenue.
Yep.
And we are amongst the lowest in Europe.
Do you know what, Jay? When you said that, I was happy you just said that bit, because until that came out, I was like, yeah, we all know it's the lowest in the league. We all know what's going on. But then when you hear Europe, and he wants us to be in that elite level, and he thinks the way to do it is to literally slash everything that's most important to the footballing side of things. Yet season ticket prices going up, concessions going up or trying to be abolished, food and drink abolished. Abolished. What we're talking about? Food and drink price gone up, merchandise gone up, and now, like you said, we are going around for scraps, looking at these trades. And I'm just to bring the next one slide up from a friend of mine, and then we're going to get on to the international fans. So I want to make sure we focus on this. And whilst I'm bringing this up, there is almost 300 of you in here right now, and thank you for joining us. Let us know if you are in a foreign country, if you are an international fan, like I call myself now. I have the proud honor of saying I'm a Canadian Spurs fan right now. Where are you from? So the last one, this just sums up January, and big up to Steve. As it stands, we are 16th in the league, 15 games left, 2 days left of a transfer window. Let's just say one, because we know tomorrow nothing's really going to happen. We're playing. Highest FFP available spend in the Premiership. Worst injury crisis that he can remember, and I think we all can remember. 0 outfield players signed, but 2 stadium events, and obviously I'll add a official partnership added. I mean, if you see that and you say to people, like we've been discussing before this season, the injuries, the 16 years no trophy, man, it's disgusting, isn't it? And he's supposed to be a fan.
I mean, you look at it, yeah, and there's 2 sentences that stick out on that whole thing. And that's worst injury crisis and 2 days left of the window. This injury crisis isn't something that's happened last game. This isn't something that happened 3 games ago. This is something that happened in December that the club should have been prepared for. And lo and behold, it's waited for 2 days on Wednesday, after our game, just before our game, Johan Lange flew out to Germany. What does this bloke do? No. So on Thursday, Lange was
you're right.
So what does this bloke do? If he can't go out there to close a deal, why is Daniel Levy being involved in it? This is a bloke that's hired probably on £1 million salary a year, and he's incompetent at his job. And there was something that come out earlier about placement of Aston Villa when Johan Lange was in charge of transfers and sporting business. They were 17th, 15th, and 13th. And I get tomorrow 1 win could take us up to 13th, but that still only puts us 7 points off relegation. So it's just a situation where Johan Lange will fall onto the Levy axe, and that's if he's not before Lange. And unfortunately, then again, Levy's going to try and bite the bullet, sack Lange, and do his business to try and bring in somebody like Iriola Frank. That in 18 months down the line, Brian, we're going to be having the same conversation.
Correct. I think, do you know what? And I think this time, there's a lot of people saying that the fan base think a couple of wins, it changes and everything goes back to normal. And this kind of protest and the heat it's getting dies down. But then you look at it, I keep saying to people, Jay, in April, well, put it this way, could end the transfer window being a busted flush, which it already is, unless Spurs go nuts in the next 40 hours.
I'd say even then we could sign 3 players and Levy has still let this club down.
Oh, 100%. But then you've got next week, it could be 2 cup exits, but it could be a final in the 5th round. But then we move into April and he's got to announce his budget. His bonus. His budget, 0. There you go. He's got to announce his bonus. He's got to announce the season ticket price. I think right now, if everything can be aligned correctly, I think the train has left the station and it's full steam ahead to get this guy, or at least put the most immense pressure ever on it. What do you reckon, Jay?
Yeah, and this is what we say. Like, obviously, with the media this week, it's been absolutely incredible. It's been draining, but it's been incredible because I tell you what, we've had so many pros. Ian Wright went on quite a passionate run, and this is an Arsenal legend.
Yeah,
who has had more bollocks to call out some fans and an ownership than what some influencers that have linked to us have had. be it whether or not, because he doesn't get handouts for the club. And obviously, I want to touch on the Michael Dawson thing. I love Dawson, but you can completely tell that he was in there for damage control. And again, Levy's thrown him into the deep end and gone, oh, yeah, try and put your point across. I think this is a time that we ask so many fans to come together, even if it's not support Change for Spurs, if it's to support just your belief in ENIC. Just come together against Manchester United and make your voices heard, be it if you're an international fan, and obviously we're going to get onto that, or be it if you're a season ticket holder, if you're somebody that lives in the area. We just want everybody to make their voices heard, because people can say it won't have an effect on him. Clearly, the pressure that he is getting from the media is making him get involved in the business we're trying to finalise now, which says to me it is getting to him.
Well, this is the thing, Jay. Before this will be the last thing we discuss, but then we'll get into the international fans. And I can say I've seen people in here that say from Norway, from Ireland, from Australia, from America, obviously from Canada. So we've got. I'm sure there's some. If Psycho Teacher's in here, we've got Brazil, we've got Ireland, we've got it all covered. But when people say that, when he keeps saying that this doesn't get to him, and we've got our Tottenham back, if you look at this man, he simply blasts the stereo out to maximum levels to drown it out. He has reached out to people like Jamie O'Hara and Jamie Redknapp and asked them to take things back. He has had to have his thigh rubbed by his wife to calm him down. And then obviously the one that got me is obviously when we tried to do the balloons at the Liverpool game. Yeah. Obviously the club were made aware, and this is why you went dark, and it totally paid off. When we did it the first time a couple of years ago, they got on the pitch and all that. But then he did this thing I've seen now for the Man U game. There is extra security from where you first put the banners, isn't there? And this is from a guy who is, the fans have got the right, or sorry, the clients have got the right to there's no free speech in there. It's like a dictatorship in there now, isn't it?
This is it. And it's sort of, for obviously we've spoken to quite a few people who work within the club, and the feel that I get from speaking to these people is they understand where we're coming from. But when you're having an order pressed down on you from above, at the end of the day, bread money to people is how they survive. I can't expect everybody who works for the club to be able to go, yeah, just do it, because it doesn't work that way. And we understand that there has to be a right way to do things. Oh, sorry, Fabrizio Romano, we're in official talks to hijack. But yeah, it's one of these things where we have to now make sure the fans stand up and demand change.
Yep, it's right. Listen, there are loads of questions. Well, all I will say with this hijack, I expect the hijacker to surrender and we lose it. So, like they do in all the movies, they'll send out the ransom notes and then we'll cave in. But right, international fans, Jay, let's speak about them, because when I did my, and when I say my, I mean the protest, but I'm not going to name them all: Billy Carnes, Graham, Ryan, Ben, one of my own, Ben Kaufman, Boogie, and Andrew Rose. I can keep naming names. We went for everyone at home, everyone that could get to the game. For obvious reason, geographical was obviously, when you're thinking about it, the biggest impact could be obviously on game day, home and away, the great away fans. And now what seems to be a large majority, or ever-growing majority of home fans. We have missed a massive, massive section of this fan base. And do you know what? As I was doing the protest with the guys I mentioned and many others beforehand, so many people reached out to me and said, I'm an international fan. Whether it be Ireland or even England, it could be Sussex, Newcastle, Liverpool as a Spurs fan, and they just can't get to games. And they're like, what can I do to get involved? How can I lend support? And this time we're calling them, aren't we? This time I think they've got an extremely huge part to play. What a Change for Spurs asking for, or what can we do for the international fan base?
Obviously, it's one thing we've pushed out constantly. We want everybody. And as you said, if you're from England, if you're from Scotland, if you're from Wales, just please give in ideas, because it's hard for us to know what an international fan's capabilities are. obviously the one thing that we could always push is if you have your local supporters clubs where you go to your games and watch it, because we see it, I see it, where fans live stream their match reviews and everything. Get your Nick out banners and start getting them sent across to us. Same as any videos that you guys create, any artwork you guys create regarding ENIC, send it to us. We will share it. We'll put it out. Obviously, we've done our bits today. Obviously, I don't want to touch on it too much. Tomorrow, we have the space where we're all the Change for Spurs guys will be involved, and you can ask us direct questions. But as for international fans, we can only ask what you believe is capable. And if we was to tell you, oh, you try and do this and it's not possible, it's one of these things where not necessarily we would feel bad, but we need to figure out what's within your guys' capabilities. And obviously, for example, you, Brian, you live by the motto, shout loudest, get heard first. And we love that idea. Being able to shout, post on the Spurs Twitter feed that you're unhappy, send us your banners, get your local supporters bars to support the Nick out movement and the bars. But yeah, it's just sort of any ideas that you guys have. Obviously, my inbox is always open. I might miss it. If I do, I apologise. If not, I can only redirect you. Always go to Change for Spurs first and send it to them as well, because they will be able to pick it up where it's always monitored.
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine how mad that inbox is going. And thankfully, you have got a few people, just the people who may not have Twitter or have X, but aren't familiar to Spaces. Just, so Spaces are exactly like podcasts. They're on Twitter. They're not visual. You just see your avatar. Change for Spurs. I think all of them are, aren't they? And it's been hosted by the great Billy T.
Yeah, that's correct. So we've got a few of us on tomorrow night, 9 o'clock, again, UK time. It's only going to be an hour. It's not going to be sort of too long. It's more just to introduce ourselves. We know the questions were raised on who's behind it. And as I've said numerous times, it's not for me to say who's involved. But tomorrow, we're officially going to be announcing quite a few of us that are involved, so you can have a bit more confidence in what we're doing. And obviously, we ask you to come along, support it, and feel free to drop us all questions. Obviously, we're willing to help and respond to everything we get.
This is the thing I was saying to people. A lot of people have been asking me, when will they get back to me, or how can I reach them, or whatever. People got to remember where we are now. When it was just a smaller demographic of people doing it, it was a lot easier to communicate. It was a lot easier to plan. It was a lot easier to share ideas. Whereas right now, obviously, this is a big thing that's going on. It is dominating Tottenham Hotspur attention, both for us as fans and people outside looking in. So bear with them when they, if they take a little bit of time to get back, because we want to do this right. And like we said, it's being spoken absolutely everywhere. The ideas are coming through thick and fast. I go through my Twitter now, and every single post at the moment, forgetting the other news, it is just awash with stuff about this. I will say there are people now, and I've seen it across all platforms. I've left all the Facebook groups because I just couldn't be asked with them, but I've got a lot of friends that are in them. The great thing is a lot of people have seen where we were coming from. May not have agreed with the way it was portrayed, the way it was dealt with, the way it was handled, the Twitter wars or Facebook wars. But there's a lot of people actually turning around now and going, do you know what, you guys? I think I've been fooled, or I've been taken for a ride by Levy. I'm now with you guys. And do you know what? For me, it takes a lot of respect for people just on their social media, because you know the abuse that I've come in for, and other people, to actually come out and say it. But it looks like the numbers are there. Listen, the international fan base, just going back on it as well, Jaay knows I've got an idea about it. There is a campaign that I am going to launch, which Change for Spurs are aware of. I'm just working on the finishing touches of it now. All I will say is it will be on game days, and it will be a certain thing, but more to be revealed on that. I think, Jaay, what we'll do, we'll go through some questions right now, because they've been piling up. There's already over 30. Some of these might be, let's just do the super chats first of all. Let's get them. So, big up, lads. Levy out, Dagul in. Time for change. Let's unite and push like never before. Jaay, appreciate all your hard work. And Terry, whose tweet I brought up about the losses, thank you for your support. And he's bang on, isn't he, Jaay? He's back.
Terry, he's an amazing guy. Obviously, I got into contact with Terry last week at some point. He's been amazingly helpful in everything. Some of the support he's given, ideas. Again, as I said, all of the stuff that we get, we do take on board and we try to incorporate it. So, obviously, Terry, I appreciate everything you're doing for me, mate.
And I do have to say with Terry as well, I've actually got to speak to him on the phone now, speak to him a few times. When we first spoke, he said, you know what, Brian, when you started doing it, I've been this way, but I never got down there. I just didn't think it would make a difference. And he's like, now I'm there all the time. And I related to, when people always say, well, if you didn't vote, you don't get an option with what's going on. I think there's a lot of people that were sitting down thinking, yeah, I do feel this way. But for whatever reason, whether it be work, distance, whatever, people didn't go. But I think Joe, actually, before we go through the other super chats, we'll save that for the end. We'll save that for the end. Tweaky, a great friend of mine who's been a member of the channel. Great work, everyone involved. And Jay, again, I don't know if some of the Change for people are in here. I'm not going to say if they are or not.
Yeah.
Obviously, they'll be revealed tomorrow when they want to. But yeah, Change for Spurs, you and everyone that is helping in any form or way, whether it be in the stadium, outside, retweeting, and it can be as simple as just retweeting everything. And that doesn't just go to the international fan base, Jay, does it? It goes, if everyone who is feeling this way was just to retweet everything that's got Levy out or Change for Spurs or something, it will just flood it even more, won't it?
Well, this is the thing. And for all we know, one of these international fans could have retweeted the posts when we put the banners out, and that somebody else that they knew could have retweeted it, and it could have gone to Fabrizio. So this just shows the power of social media. And obviously, every single person involved, be it if you're singing your heart out, telling Levy to get out in the stadium, be it if you're retweeting, commenting, sharing, obviously, this is why everything we're doing and what all the fans are doing is going to sort of now making an effect, and we're going to keep going until we get what we want.
There we go. So also, Tweaky, thank you very much. He gifted 5 memberships to people in the chat. So if you did get a membership from Tweaky, please give him a thank you. Then we got another Canadian brother of mine, Dietrich. Big up, guys. Respect you for the amazing work. I feel we need to block the pathway of the bar to try and cancel the game by blocking the entrance. Jay, listen, there's ways of doing this right now. I know that there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of frustration, but I think the great thing that went ahead with you and the march, the protest, shall I say, was obviously it went under the radar, and obviously there was no ill will or anything throughout the game, was there?
No. So this is what we mean. Obviously, we've had ideas of, say, blocking the club shop, and we don't want it to get down the side where people can risk losing going to the game that they love. It's a tough situation, and I get there is some hardcore Spurs fans that were willing to take the extra steps. We couldn't ever ask you to do that because at the end of the day, it's your life. And obviously, it is frustrating seeing people being stood in a bar 30 minutes after the game's finished and drinking pints. But at the end of the day, it's people's choices. And I think the way this is going, less and less people are going to be going into them bars. More people will be going to the local pubs outside and supporting the local businesses. So it's one of these things. Obviously, do I fear one day eventually it will get to the stage where people are taking things into their own hands and, like I see in the comments, storming the pitch? It's not impossible. You look at West Ham a few years ago, they had fans who were doing it. It's just one of these things where there's a right and a wrong way to do it, and doing it completely within legal means where we're not risking punishment from the police or punishment from the club where they can revoke season tickets. We just need to explore all different ideas.
Correct. And I will say the way it's going right now, obviously there's other ways of doing that. Believe me, do you know things like that won't affect Levy? The things that do affect him is after a game, before a game, don't spend money in that stadium. Don't buy a beer that floats from the bottom. I know they're cheaper than outside. He's been smart that way. The food, I understand. Obviously, this is completely different. If you've got kids or you're under medication, you need to have a soft drink or food with your medication. That's totally fine. But the amount of people that are in there after the game because the beer's cheaper or what, and it's just like literally everything everyone is trying to do. and it is making a difference and it is affecting him, but then he'll go into his office, go check the CCTV or check the systems to see how much cash is flowing through. Forgotten about. Absolutely forgotten about. So a very dear friend of mine saying, Jaay, looking forward to the march. He'll be with you. He goes to all the protests. Bless him and his dad. A wonderful friend of mine, a brother. We're going to talk about the march and the next protest right at the end. Once we've got through questions, and we have got a lot of questions, Jaay, we're going to try and get through. Some of them might be duplicated. Big up, Shawnee, brother.
Big up, Sean.
Good guy, very good guy. We've got another one from a very dear friend of mine, Andrew Gregory, who actually came up with this last time. SOS, save our Spurs. We have then got another one from Max Lyon, who is king of the bingo with me. There used to be a club over there. Yeah, listen, that Birkinshaw line is being used a hell of a lot at the moment, isn't it? It's so true.
100%.
Line.
And it just shows that people now feel the same. It used to be a football club. We're an entertainment business, nothing more, and it's just not acceptable.
That's absolutely spot on. Then we've got a membership from the Belgian Hotspur. I forgot to mention Belgium we got here. Please smash the like for Tottenham on Tour. Big love to one and all. Thank you very much indeed, buddy. Right now, the most important thing, as much as Tottenham on Tour coming back, is the awareness of what Jaay and Change for Spurs, us as a fan base, are trying to do. Another dear friend of mine, they're all coming out today. Big up, Dave. We all need to unite and show the owners what we feel all across the globe. Whatever they can do, the club are falling. And I have to say, this week alone, I've never seen so much unity, whether it be supporters, social media, YouTube, or anything. The fans are all singing off the same hymn sheet at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, and this is it. I think it just shows the club have managed to drain every kind of belief that the project that we were sold about moving into the stadium wasn't true. It wasn't for the right reasons. Purely financial takes from whether or not we're going to be earning X amount on matchday revenue or we're going to be announcing Beyonce on tour.
Right, we're going to start going through questions and ideas. The first one is my good friend all the way in Malaysia, in Eugene. Now, he said he spoke to me yesterday, which he did. He wants to set up a Tottenham Hotspur Trust or International Fan Supporters Trust in Malaysia. Now, obviously, the trust have not come out and said anything. I know they had a big AGM. You've had discussions with them. But one thing I will say, and I am going to big this man up a lot right now. I did a show on this channel with the ex-head of the trust, Martin.
Yeah.
And obviously that was whilst he was still in the trust and the questions we were asking. He spoke out, but obviously he decided, and he has always felt the board have got a lot to answer to, but wasn't getting anywhere with the trust. He left. He put up a very public message or a private message that he shared as a parting shot to certain people. And I have to say, Martin, since he's left the trust, has been a massive contributor to not just tweeting and speaking out his truth and doing things. He is attending protests. He's been valuable. I mean, is it worth? I mean, it's a good idea for people in the fight. I mean, is it worth, Jaay, just not Malaysia, an Asian supporters trust, so to speak?
Yeah, of course. And obviously, one of the things that we encourage more than anything, you guys support Spurs. You don't support Levy. You do not support Enoch. You support Tottenham Hotspur. And being able to unify a continent or being able to unify your hometown into having your own supporters trust, it's where everybody can connect. And obviously, for the guys that are looking to set things up, contact us. We're happy to support you. Going on to the trust, I can't say massively too much,
Of course.
but I just feel that personally they're letting down fans. For my own reasons and for other reasons that have been vocalized, I just feel they should and could be doing a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, I've had my spits and spats with the trust. I do understand all the great work they do behind the scenes. Obviously, they've had a big meeting apparently last week or this week just gone. And hopefully the majority will vote for a more Levy out and board out, and we want answers and not just emails. But there's one idea. Brian Gibson, I mean, this is an easy one to do, and obviously it's very, very effective. I'm sure, Brian, it's a great idea. I'm sure you've probably had this 100 times in the Change for Spurs inbox, have you not?
Yeah, and it's an idea that we're certainly looking at. It's a great idea because do you know what? It goes back and there was two lads versus Elfsborg. I don't know who they are and what they did. There was two of them with hankies. It got picked up by the TV and that was two supporters. Now imagine we could get 1,000 of us. We could get 2,000 of us. We could get the South Stand doing it. It would have an effect. And even though it's not a message that's got anything written on it, it sends enough.
So, yep, there we go. There's another. I mean, that one as well. Obviously, it's so effective in Spanish football and South American football, and that one is so easy to organise. I mean, I still carry hankies with me everywhere I go. They're not always white, but I won't be waving that one about. But you get the idea. Listen, it's the easiest one to do, and the thing is as well, those most visual ones are the ones that stand out and get the most attention, aren't they? So it's got to be one. Tweaky's even showed he's ordered his flags to people. I do know a friend of mine who got all our banners, but Matt, and I'll drop his link in the comment section of the actual video once we've finished, has actually put a link out there and has said for £25, I believe it is, certain flags can be got for the march that we're going to talk about and the protests. So that's another one. Question, Sean. Are the banners there at Brentford tomorrow?
Right, so they're not going to be. Reason for it, away games are typically impossible for fans to be getting things in. And with an away game, they will just reject your ticket. Obviously, we hope tomorrow that the fans are at their loudest because if you was to look at this window, it hasn't been acceptable. There's got to be anger and frustration because even though we're seeing tweets here that we've just officially hijacked the deal, again, is this a signing we wanted or is this a reactionary? So tomorrow at the game, there won't be banners. We'd love for them to be, but we need to be realistic in logistics. The next game that the banners will definitely be out at will be announced. Obviously, we can't say too much. There's a reason we're keeping completely quiet on it. And it is because we are aware the club are watching everything we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, also, just to say, to be aware as well, obviously, Jaay, I think, is talking about the big ones that you got out on Sunday. The away fans, obviously, people do get their smaller banners in, and there probably will be banners there from the away fans, and obviously they'll be as loud as possible, as they always are. Levy Towers has got, what a name. As soon as I see we win a game or two, the fan base will stay quiet. How can we change this as we cannot stop? I personally, Levy Towers, I don't know how long you've been watching. I'll let Jay speak after. I think with everything going on, the window, possibility out of at least one or two cups, could be through in both cups, never know. But also the very fact that come April, the season ticket and bonuses, and the way just this season has, or January has been handled, I don't see this dying down with a couple of wins. What do you reckon, Jay?
1 or 2 wins ain't going to change anything. Unfortunately, it seems to be since last year, we have been in this predicament where more and more fans are slowly losing their patience. And I think Levy has burnt any kind of bridge, even with people that believe he's doing the right things. They don't think it's acceptable how he's running the club. So us at Change for Spurs, we are going to keep going. And that's our promise to you guys. We will keep trying to push the fans' message to the board. And hopefully, don't get me wrong, I know for a few people it will change. But I think for the many this time, enough is enough.
There you go. I completely agree. I think the way that so many people have changed now, I don't think this goes back. Maybe a few people, if he pulls a rabbit out of a hat, we get to a final. But I think the majority now have seen that the damage is done. We're just going to be here next season or the season after. Barbaric Disdain, one of the nicest people in the world. If and when we get these out, get rid of these owners, does Brian promise to start recording YouTube chat again? Yeah, I listen. I promise that once Levy's gone, Tottenham on tour will continue. Mission will be accomplished. But I keep saying, Jay, that once he leaves, I'm going to be like someone that's just come out of the Big Brother house. I'll be a hot thing for a minute, and then I'll be going to like the opening. All my material's gone. I won't be invited to parties. The damage is done. I might have to start protesting the new owners straight away. So, yeah, it was me. But yeah, we'll be here. Ian in America. What can the international fans do? We've spoken about this, Ian. Obviously, the way if anyone has any ideas, again, we'll just repeat ourselves. Send them to Change for Spurs. I have put all the links to them in the chat. I'll put them again near the end when we're talking about the Manchester United protest. Send ideas in. I've got an idea that's going to get done. Hopefully, want to get it in coordination with the Manchester United game for the international fans. But like Jay said, what was you saying, Jay, to send in as of tomorrow?
Yeah, so just get them sent in to Change for Spurs' inbox. Obviously, you can duplicate and send to both of us. The preferred is definitely to go through their inbox because we know it will get picked up. Be it if you're watching it at your supporters clubs or if you're watching it in a bar. If you're watching it at home, get your banners made, get your pictures made, support the ownership, support the movement for Change for Spurs. And obviously, the one thing I cannot reiterate enough is please do not make these banners offensive. If they're made offensive, we won't share them for the simple reason of they can be used as ammunition against us to be doing the wrong thing.
Correct.
I'm being picked out here.
No, but the one thing, Jay, what you're right with this. People got to remember, we have got a lot of traction at the moment. And the last thing we need to do, and I think someone said it on Last Word on Spurs, I can't remember the exact wording or who, I think it might have been that TJ Rami, I believe. Who said, listen, we've got the ascendancy right now. Believe me, with everything we're trying to do and put on as a fan base, as a community, they can outpower us. They can outfight us. They can try to, but if it gets to stupid things, they will use it to their advantage. They have the bigger legal teams. They have the bigger reach. So everything we do has to be done right, because one really bad wrong move or one stupid mistake could send this spiraling downwards, and that's the last thing we want. Right, we still got. What I will say, people, stop putting your questions in, because we've got 20 ideas and questions to get through.
I can stand for a bit longer. I'll stand for a bit longer.
Cool.
Just because we want to get everything answered for everybody.
Then we're going to talk about, obviously, what's getting planned for United and what you can speak about United. So, Thorough, big up, buddy. I haven't seen you for a while, so always good to see you. Let's call all fans, to call all members of the Lewis family and ask them, why do they support this absolute clown Levy as chairman of the club? Why isn't he sacked by now, or why not sell the club? Yeah, listen, it's I stupidly in my days a couple of years ago, I'm blocked from sending Daniel emails because let's just say they weren't pleasant. It was silly of me, but it was anger, and I sent him the links to all my streams that I was on, and literally calling him every name under the sun and telling him exactly how I felt with him. Joe Lewis just doesn't care, does he? He's on his yacht or doing whatever. He don't care, does he?
I think the perfect answer to this is, for years and years and years, Joe Lewis he's been collecting his paycheck. I don't think he's even visited the new stadium. But at the same time, you've got to remember, he has, even though it might not seem like it, his daughter Vivian has many a times come out and said she is a Spurs fan and she wants us doing better. Speaking to them, for all we know, all of these ways, be it with sponsors, be it with directly the club, they're going to be creating bad media, and it's not good for the club to be under this much pressure. Sky Sports have cranked it up, TalkSport, even though Simon Jordan's had his 5 minutes chatting about his best mate, saying he's God's gift. There has been many bad reports coming out towards this club, towards this ownership. And obviously, the more that this goes on, the better that it's going to become for us fans, because if I'm honest, it might not trigger him to sell the club, but it might trigger him into thinking, maybe I am running the club too poorly. And obviously, the overall goal would be getting rid of him. But yeah, the reason the investors are looking says to me that they're either looking at somebody to buy the club out, and Daniel Levy squeezing every last penny out that he can, or genuinely the trust the ENIC have with Daniel Levy running this club is wearing thin.
Completely, totally agree with you. Next one from Dan the Yido from the Iron Army. Do you think we'll go down? Yeah, I don't think we will. But I don't think we will. But if any Spurs fan is actually saying, yeah, now we're too good to go down, a couple of defeats, and we've still got to go to Wolves. We've still got to go to Ipswich. We're going to Brentford tomorrow. We could easily be dragged down to it. Newcastle have gone down. Villa have gone down. No team is too big for the drop if you don't get the results, are they, Jay?
No, and we obviously spoke about this before. I'm struggling to see where we pick up points in our next 5 games. It seems like every club is wanting to play us at the moment. We used to be one of these teams where people used to be scared to come to the lane because we never used to lose. And now we're one of these clubs, people are going, we ain't 1 in 10, but we've got Tottenham next. As for the question, do you think we'll go down? I think we're lucky enough to be in a situation where there's 3 teams worse than us.
Yeah.
But these 3 teams, bar Southampton, have picked up points off of us. So it's all well and good saying, I don't think we will because there's 3 teams. But it is a genuine possibility that unless there is a big turning point in the next 5 weeks, we are seriously in a relegation fight. And do we have the bollocks to get through it?
We'll soon find out. We will soon find out. Now, just so people know, I think this Donato, or however you pronounce his name, is moving rapidly. So maybe we do have a player through the door. Too little, too late. And we've gone begging for scraps and hijacked Wolves, just like we did Everton with Dan Zuma. So please don't, and obviously think that all things are changing and this is the start of something, because we've been here many a time. God, Jay, you're about to say something.
Yeah, sorry. He does qualify as a homegrown player, though, apparently. So I've just been told. So
there you go. There you go. Look at that. Look at that. Education as well. Okay, Milton, pick up Milton, buddy. Would love to see no season ticket holders turn up for a game and imagine a home game with only away fans. Would melt lots. Lots of love from Australia. It's 8:15 a.m. Sunday morning there. Well, happy Sunday, Milton. Have a great one. Listen, I will say that I think, Jay, you're saying as well. When it comes to planned boycotts or anything, you have to know that people are prepared to do it, because if you make it public that this is going to happen, and then only a few people do it, it's a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, and obviously the season ticket holders have already given Levy their money. If you think about it, they've already handed the bloke their money at the start of the season. Not turning up to a game, obviously, as you know, as a season ticket holder, you scan your season ticket in. Unless you scan at that gate, you class as a no-show to the club, which will get strikes in your account. You'll have points deducted, or even worse, you'll have your season ticket revoked. And obviously, touching on sort of being within the stadium and protesting within the stadium, you've got to have the numbers willing to do it in certain sections. So yeah, we would love an empty stadium, but then at the same time, our players deserve to have the support. Remember, as much as we hate the regime, we need to support our players. And this, I hate to say it, more time than ever, this is a time where the fans need to be supporting the players as well as making their voices heard against the ownership.
Yeah, and I will say with this as well, speaking to a few people about it, I think if you're ever going to do this to begin with, this is just my opinion. I think the first protocol has always got to be to target the South Stand. The 100%. White wall of noise, the one that we were told was going to be the intimidating stand and was going to be like Borussia Dortmund. Because obviously, if you say 60 odd that, all right, let's say 55, you take out the corporate, you take out the away fans. Saying to 55,000 fans, okay, do this. You might get pockets here and there, whatever. But if you say to that South Stand, which is like the piece de la resistance of that stadium, apparently, and that's empty at a certain time, that's going to be very telling, isn't it, Jay?
Yeah, and like pockets of, you're talking a minimum of 2,000 fans you would need in one area. So as you can imagine, what's that? Say one block, that's all the rows in one block, all the rows in 2 blocks, to make a difference where it's going to be noticed. And at the same time, recently, big up to the Union Bears guys that made a protest against their ownership, they've tried it.
Yeah.
But again, they only managed to get a small section, and it blew up negatively for them. Even though they've got their point across, it's making sure that it's going to be recognised for why we're doing it. And unfortunately, sometimes when you're only getting a small pocket, it seems to be for the wrong reasons, and it gets picked out as the wrong reasons.
There we go. So the next one is, do you know what, Eugene? Good friend of mine, 24-hour stream to raise funds for protest merch. Tottenham on tour still owed 24 hours because of all the gaps with me working and my ill health and then back. We still need to do a mental health one. I'm not going to do a 48-hour one and split them, but I am more than prepared to do a 24-hour Levy out stream and give all proceeds to places that can help with Levy. Eugene, that's actually a very good idea. You and I will talk about that. That's a wicked one. Got another one from Mario here. Mario, hi, Brian. My cousin and a handful of others travelling with him will be involved in the Our Voice, Our Club march at the Manchester United game. This is how much it is driving change like never before. I know people that are travelling from few and far between and literally trying to get there. I've got people, I'm sure Brian Maguire was in the chat, but he came down from Glasgow. If Mr. Finland is in the building, I'm sure he'd make a go. I even had someone tell me they're going to try and get there from Malta. I'm sure there are loads of people in the surrounding areas of London or England that hopefully will get to the game, and we'll talk to it. We'll talk about that at the end. But how has the reaction been so far to that?
It's been incredible, and all I can do personally is thank everybody. Obviously, it's all completely to show why we care about this club, and the support that we've had and the growth and the message we're pushing. It's for everybody, and we want every single person and fan to be there and be involved. And obviously, the Our Voice and Our Club march is going to be hopefully one of the biggest ever. We want every YouTube, we want every podcast, we want every single person who's feet on ground to be involved and be there with us for this. And yeah, I just can't thank everybody enough for the support. And obviously, yeah, if you see me there, come say hello and definitely have a chat.
And the good thing I will say with this as well is the Man U game, I would imagine Sunday is definitely going to be on TV. It's always on TV, Spurs United. So people that don't have a ticket to the game, and you're thinking, oh, yeah, I'm not going down there. Believe me, fill the pubs after the march. All the pubs will be showing it because it's on Sky. There's the Coaching Horses, which is my number one pub in Tottenham. But there are plenty of other pubs that will go and have this. If you're thinking, yeah, but I haven't got a ticket for the match, you can lend your support and then go watch it in the pubs if you can, and if you're able to. So don't be if you can get down there and lend everyone support, please do so. We have an idea from Psycho Fox, and Psycho Fox will be making his debut on this channel on Friday. Can the overseas fan pubs put a red background or change their logos to red as a sign of disapproval? Can't think of any other colour that would show more dissident. I love the idea, Psycho, but I think you're going to have a lot of fans. I won't wear a single thing with red clothing, with red in it. I won't use a red pen. I have turned Ubers away when they come because they are a red car. It's a real anal thing of mine, but I love the idea. But could black be it? Or I mean, I don't know. It's an idea. What do you reckon? What do you reckon?
I've grown up on obviously I'm from London, so I've grown up on the saying never red. It pains me to wear a Spurs top with the red AIA on it. But again, it's an idea, and it's something that will help support from overseas, showing your frustration to this anger. We haven't got to necessarily be there with doing everything the right way. Everybody's own way is the right way to do it. Show your support, show your frustration towards the board. And that's the only thing I can suggest is what you guys think is right. Please feel free to do it. Tag us in and we'll support it.
And I will say, everyone, you're going to want to watch the show on Friday. Simon is a wonderful friend of mine. Again, the power of YouTube and social media, it does a lot of bad, but met and started talking solely through this channel. He now appears on Chris Cowlin occasionally on the Fan Show. He went after me this week and just tore into Levy, and speaks incredibly well. And I can't wait to have him on the channel on Friday. We have Simon Ross, put Levy out stickers on the back of the chairs. I've seen loads of stickers. I have seen so many stickers floating about that have been printed. There's been, I'm sure you've had that one, but it's another idea, isn't it?
Yeah, it's another idea, and obviously this is something we could definitely look at. It's if you don't hear us shouting about it on social media, please don't think that we're not taking into consideration what you're saying. Obviously, just talking about the Leicester game. Sorry, we had to do it the way we did it because we are aware the club are watching, and certainly if we start making it people aware that we have stickers that we're going to be using, instantly that's another thing the club, because it could be taken as criminal damage. It could be, but it's an idea, and it's an idea that could work. It's just you have to be very smart with it. But
you do. You do. And also, I mean, again, things like this is the small things like the visuals, because if the press see it, or people with big social media accounts see it and just take photos of it, that photo travels very, very quickly. This is another thing. Peter has said we need ex-players to come out. Obviously, it is hard to get current players, maybe not at Tottenham or Stars, but obviously we have had a few. I will drop a spoiler that hopefully in February there will be a former Spurs player that is very, very, very prominent in speaking about the state of this football club, and it will be a no hold bars with him. It won't be that hard to work out. There's only a few, but it'd be great if a few more did come out, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, it frustrates me. As I said, Michael Dawson he's a fan. He's not just an ex-player, he's a fan. And this week, it feels like out of anybody in the media, he got hung out to dry by being asked to release the statement. And this, you support the players over singing. We showed at Southampton supporting Levy out, and you can tell by the absolute frustration in the comments from the players in the last few weeks, they understand where we're coming from. And it's just one of these things where you look at Jamie O'Hara, he's got arguably one of the biggest reaches in regards to sports in England just through Talk Sport, the amount he shouts on Twitter. And he seemed, I think last week he gunned for Ange over gunning for the board. Ange at the moment is being asked to cut his garden with a pair of scissors. You can't expect a guy to, and don't get me wrong, it's easy enough to say certain injuries. And I'm not saying Ange isn't blameless. I'm not Ange in full stop anymore. I think his time is up. But at the same time, it just feels like at the moment, the ex-players that work within the club are prioritising their paycheck week in, week out with millions in the bank instead of speaking out. And one shout out I do want to give is to Mido and Raymond Vega, who both this week have massively let rip into the ownership of the club.
You have a maybe or maybe not. You may have said one of the players that may or may not be appearing on this show. You never know. Stuart, big up, buddy. I haven't got a ticket for Man U, but I will try and get there for the protest. My legs won't let me do the walk. Where does it end? Is it opposite the club shop? We're going to get onto that at the end, but is that where the pit stop is?
It ends at the club shop. So on the banners that we've released, it will have details. But please, if you have any questions like this, especially you, Stuart, feel free to drop me a message on X, and I'll reply to you and give you some more information on how we can help you. Obviously,
with things like this, Stuart. I'm sorry, with things like this, Jay. Stuart's a personal friend of mine, so if he sends a message to me, I'll just ping it directly.
Forward it across. I'm happy for you to give him my number as well, Brian. I'll speak to him that way.
Okay, yeah, because if there's anyone that does, this could be a thing. People that do have certain accommodations like that may be not able to walk a long amount of time or walk at all, and maybe want to play part. I think that's a big part. So yeah, I'll get that sorted, and I'll give Jay. I'll give Stuart your number, Jay.
Perfect.
Good again, Zach Robinson. Will we see Jay and other change for Spurs on other channels like Tottenham Away? Last word on Spurs, just for example.
Yeah. Sorry, we've got some bits coming out with other podcasts. It won't necessarily just be me. Obviously, we have Billy T, who's a massive advocate for Change For Tottenham, and he's massively pushing the message. He's on Last Word on Spurs. Richard Cracknell, I want to give a big shout out to. He's done nothing but support this movement. And out of everybody, he is massively, massively, massively pushing his opinion. And he's now at the stage where he's going unfiltered with it. He's doing what he has to do. Obviously, we've spoken to numerous other people that appear on big podcasts, and there might be some more information on where some of our guys are going to be appearing this week. Obviously, Brian's a personal friend of mine, and I've 100% got time to be on any time that he requests, pending my children aren't playing up. But hopefully you'll see a few more of our guys presenting on some of these shows and hopefully getting the message out. Yeah,
this is the thing. Like I said, with Crackers as well, Crackers actually turned up to our final one on that season with Harry Kane's final goal against Brentford. Crackers literally said, right, that's it, I've had enough. I'm going to join the protesters. And I've been seeing Crackers for ages. He's been very, very vocal. And this is the thing, as Zach mentioned with the other channels, everyone will get around. There's just such an influx of requests from the guys at the moment. But they will get round. They will be available. And this is the thing. It's about all these channels lending support. And I will say, Tottenham Away, who I started with still, and everyone have always been a very proactive Levy out channel. So they have done a lot, just like Tottenham on Tour, just like other channels that have started. So it's good to see them mentioned there. Right, let's carry on with the next one, which is, we'll go back to you, Belgium. Tottenham on Tour. Could a mass walkout be planned? We spoke about this, Kieran. You probably put that in before we even spoke about it, but it's a very hard thing to organise and plan, isn't it?
Yeah, as I said, you would need such huge pockets, and unfortunately we are a huge tourist attraction now, so we do have a lot of tourists that, I mean, take up rows, and it's beneficial for the club. Of course it is, because it's revenue, but unfortunately these aren't people that are there for the motive of necessarily they are there because they love Spurs. Some of them are there because they love select players. Some of them are there on opportunity that they're in London at the time.
Yep.
So to be able, here we go on Kevin Danso. Sorry, it's done.
Here we go.
But yeah, it's one of these things where to ask people, especially for me, I've loved taking my little boy to the Spurs games. Some people are there with their family and they are there to spend time. So it's hard to ask a couple of thousand people to all do it at the same time and for it to have impact.
Exactly. I will say as well, I mean, a lot of the international fans or tourist fans that come as well, all come, they've got one chance to see the game. Yeah, and I will tell you, a lot of them are like me. A lot of them probably would. You do have fans that come and they're coming for the spectacle, but I think you do have fans. But the thing is as well, if it's, let's just say you have a planned walkout, let's just say the 85th minute, where it's near the end of the game. If it's 1-1 and we're in the ascendancy, there's so many factors. Will fans do it? And it's just the optics of it or how it will look after if it doesn't work out. So that would have to be very well planned, ready, and people more than prepared to do it. Right, we've got a few more. Then all the questions I've got here, I'm going to put up. Then we're going to do a quick thing about the United game. Then we'll wrap up. But like I said, you will be seeing more of Jaay or people from Change For Spurs on the channel. So there'll be more stuff coming out. But there you go, Belgian Hotspur. I truly believe the only way we realistically could get ENIC out is to empty the stadium. Do you agree? Discuss. Yeah, we've discussed it. It's a lovely theory, and I'd love nothing more. But the one thing that I cling to hope with is the Filth managed to do this with Wenger. Their fans got to that breaking point and said, yeah, that's it. Let's do it. I don't know if our fans would. What about you, Jaay?
I don't think our fans are that far off of it. If I'm being completely honest, we have never seen unity behind the fans in the scale we're seeing now. And as you said, you, Stel, Sava, were all pushing this for many, many years ago. I've stood beside you on these marches, Brian. And I think this time it does feel different. And for whatever reason it does, it feels like the fans have finally given up. Unfortunately, emptying the stadium, I don't think you're ever going to get any club in England that are willing to empty their stadium. You see it with the French ultras, the Italian ultras. I mean, you see the Italian ultras pulling their players onto the side of the pitch and bollocking them.
Yeah.
I just feel for now, the way things are going, keep the protest, keep the chance at the game, make him uncomfortable whilst he is sitting there. And it's eventually going to work.
Okay. No, I was going to say as well, I think with it as well, what happens is even when the Filth did it, it was a very big, it was a few thousand, it wasn't the entire stadium, but if it was a few thousand, let's just say the South Stand, if the South Stand was half empty, you instantly see it, and it's a glaring obvious thing, and it will probably be a huge statement. So maybe that can be done. Terry is back up again. Jay, you speak. Can you speak to a t-shirt printing place? They'll be able to print large quantities and come up with a design and link that will stand out in a crowd. Has t-shirts or merch been a possibility?
Yeah, t-shirts and merch are definitely a possibility. Obviously, one thing I want to press onto is we're not at this stage. We do not wish to take donations of people. We're completely self-funded, and the reasoning behind that is one, because we want clarity to the fans that we're doing this kind of for everybody, and we don't want the risk of, and we know it will happen, that people will go, oh, well, you've taken money off fans. But that's not what it's about. Obviously, Terry, this is one thing I'll catch up with you over WhatsApp about. That is something we're definitely we can look into, as well as you've already stated, Brian, on the Change for Spurs, we've put up our supplier for the banner, who is offering deals if you order through the link for your own banners. We encourage fans to have their own banners made and to take in, or have your banners made, and if you wish to hand them over to us to show, we are more than happy to help with that as well.
Fantastic. Right. So also, I think as well, Jay, if you go down that line, I can vouch for Tottenham Tour. If you want to put them available via our methods, if they can't reach you and all proceeds go to you, or other, that's another thing. Other channels could probably advertise them, put them out for you, whatever it may be. And obviously, or everything, should that go ahead, it's a great idea. We've got a few more questions and a quick chat about the March. Then we will wrap up. So, Zach, again, question or just thought. Everton did a sit-in protest a few years ago. Maybe an idea. Jay?
Just sort of keep your eyes peeled. It might be a game coming up very soon. It might be a game in the future. When we do plan to do it, we will let fans know. But obviously, as I've said, it is something we have to keep very, very quiet on when we're planning to do it. So we don't always think that it's necessarily the smartest idea to announce exactly what game, or if they know we've got something planned already for a game, we need to maybe have a look at using it in a different game. And that is something to, keep your eyes on.
Yeah, Jay, I will say with that as well, and it just goes to show as well, and as a key indicator is after the Leicester game, obviously, we all know there's extra security where you put the banners up because they plan ahead. If they're aware immediately, there will be tons of security trying to usher you out. So good thinking. That and a very dear friend of mine, the Hotspur Hood, everyone give them a like. Everyone turn their back on the 24th minute and stay that way for 10 minutes. It gets noticed, was a good idea by someone. Dan, I will say before I go to Jay, we did try this one day, one game when I was back, when I was still going into the entertainment complex. And it was to turn over, I think it was on the 21st minute, because it was 21 years of Enoch. I was the only one with a few, like literally, I could count 7 others that were ahead of me that did it. Obviously, even if they do it, you can look at all the screens. You won't miss anything. The screens are there. But again, it all comes down to, will people be prepared to do it? But I think a lot more would now, Jay.
Yeah, I think, again, this is purely a numbers thing. And if there is enough support behind it, it's always something that could be tried. But it's one of these things where we have to make sure there's numbers behind it, because obviously we do it once and it doesn't go well, people will not feel inclined to want to do it again. So it's just making sure the timing of when we are going to plan to do it is correct.
Well said. Another one, I love this idea. Wear Levy masks. I mean, I don't know how easy it is to put the devil horns on them, but if everyone was in there wearing Levy masks, I mean, I think that idea would just be as much as I'd hate. Well, actually, if I just shaved my head, I'd look like him. I wouldn't need to mask. But that's not a bad idea at all, is it? Or even the international fan base. Even the international base. I mean, I'm sure I could speak to people at Toronto Spurs tomorrow and get a majority of the people in the Scotland Yard all in something like. I think that's a wicked idea. What do you reckon, Jaay?
Yeah, it's a wicked idea. Obviously, the only thing that we cannot stress enough is do not in any shape or form make them offensive or in any way that it could be used as ammunition, that it's going past the point of hating Levy. Obviously, I've seen some crazy ideas. And when I say crazy, as a Spurs fan, it blows your mind that it could happen. It's things that will, and as you said earlier, we're in a David versus Goliath situation. We are tiny compared to the power and the money that they could throw at us. Yeah. And last thing we ever want to take it is down the legal route.
Exactly. It's just not worth it. Like I said, we're done rightly and done loudly and passionately. And I've kept saying when we started, when I was doing the training ground and everything, we were trying to win a battle. We didn't have the numbers to win the battles, let alone the war. Well, now the battles are being won, and the way the club are conducting themselves and doing everything, we are starting to rally up for the war. So we've got to do that right. So we've got 2 more questions. Then we will literally talk very briefly, Jaay, about United and the plans, and obviously we will do more. Sussex Tottenham, a very good friend of mine, just again via Twitter. Big up, Brian. Great talking to you. I've been critical on Twitter of a lot of things, but I think we should all come together. That is the most important thing, isn't it, Jaay? It is literally everyone on the same song sheet.
Yeah, and this is what we mean. Hopefully, Change for Spurs, we're showing to people that this is how everybody can unify, everybody can feel involved. And obviously, there is people that I've missed. I have a very busy personal life. Obviously, 2 young children. I work full time, so I do occasionally miss messages. So I feel so apologetic if I do miss it. It's not intentional. Obviously, just give me a nudge if I do. Or, as I said, the best way to get in contact with ideas is to push through the Change for Tottenham X page. But yeah, 100%. This feels completely different to like ever before. We feel unified. We feel that right now, the way this is going, change has to happen before. Genuinely, are we just a year off the relegation points? Because realistically, what decent player is going to want to be to be floating around these zones?
Yep. Okay, so we got one more question, 2 super chats, and then we do Manchester United. So little Matty K, who I must. This guy is a little soldier. He's such a great kid, loved by everyone at Tottenham on tour. On Thursday, he was down there on the front row of the South Stand, screaming "Levy out." He's probably the loudest Levy out screams you heard of that. He was giving it non-stop. I love this guy. But he goes, if we go down, what happens with Levy and Enoch? Would they leave, as no one would pay big money for a Championship club? But would Levy want to? All I will say is very quickly, if you think, and not you, Matt, I mean, if everyone thinks that Levy sells if we were to get relegated, not a chance. The value of the club is wiped out. Exactly. And he won't sell it now for 4 billion. He ain't going to sell it for 2, is he, Jaay?
So with this, obviously, we've spoken to a few guys who work within finance. The possibility of relegation should be a real fear to everybody, because if we were to get relegated financially, we will never, ever recover from it. The stadium debt on top of player salaries or player contract breaks would hemorrhage money from this club, which ultimately means that theoretically, the club would never get sold because the value of the stadium would be worth more than what the club would be worth. So the entertainment side of it would be sold off to become a pop concert arena. So getting relegated, it should be something fans should be concerned about. And the amount of money we would lose and the recovery time, I feel in my lifetime, we would never see our club recover to become in one of these bigger clubs again.
There we go.
So, yeah.
Right, just quickly go through the 2 super chats. Eugene, who is over in San Diego. Never met him. Obviously, we've spoken on YouTube, WhatsApp, blah, blah, blah. I will be seeing him at the Notts Forest game. San Diego and Toronto will be meeting. thank you for giving international fans a voice. As Jay and I said, I think this is such a vital part of it. And everyone, I have put the links, and I will be putting the links into everything Change for Spurs whilst Jay speaks about the Man U game. And the final super chat is from Psycho Fox once again. Jay, a GoFundMe page or just give it means people have a choice to support your efforts or not. Great show. Thank you both. Always coins, Levy out. Obviously, when you were talking funding that, I mean, I think that applies to this as well, correct?
Yeah, it does. Unfortunately, of course, money would help every cause. Just at the moment, where we're at, and I'm not saying it's impossible for the future. It could certainly be a route we look down. We're more than happy at the moment, sort of providing the fans with these banners, providing with the leaflets, providing with the balloons. We're more than happy doing it. We will continue to do it. And as I said, in the future, it definitely could. And for the guys that can't necessarily be at the games to support, as we said, buy yourself some banners for your home bars or for wherever you're watching the game. Get some photos sent to us so we can share it. Send your location of where it is and tag it into.
Yep, like I said, everyone make sure you do that. Craig is right, very dear friend of mine. Running the troops. It's time to get our great club back. Now is out time. He's right now. Jay, I'm just going to bring up this whilst I quickly bring up all the social media links to yourself and Change for Spurs so they can give the ideas and do everything. Jay, explain to them the plan and everything regarding this.
Yeah, so this isn't the full information of the day. This is just a brief overview. In the coming sort of next week or so, we will touch on and release a bit more information. So the March for Change, we will have our banners. Our meeting time is on there and where we will be meeting. We hope everybody who feels the same way will be there to support us, obviously. And then once we get into the ground, the united voice is making sure, one, we're supporting the players. I cannot stress enough that these players deserve the support. At the same time, we encourage fans to be using your voices, to be making sure that you are demanding change from this ownership. All I can say is we appreciate every single fan that is being involved. International fans, we've touched on it massively tonight. Please, please, please get your banners and pictures and all of your artwork sent into us. Send it into my personal account, send it into Change for Spurs, and we'll make sure it goes out and it's shared everywhere. We appreciate all of your support. There you
go. There will be more. Jay and I are going to wrap it up there. I just want to say there's two more super chats we'll quickly do, which is Matt, thank you very much, buddy. Levy out, Enoch out. Enough. Changes needed. And from Donovan, thank you very much. There's no comment there, but when we're next on, just remind me, you put a super chat in, we'll bring up whatever comments you want. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. This is just the first episode of more stuff to come with Tottenham on tour. And Jay, everyone have a great evening, whatever you do. We have had a here we go to end the day. So February has started with a bang. Let's just hope tomorrow we get 3 points. I don't think we will, but everyone in the chat, Jay, once again, brother, thank you very much and good luck with everything you're doing.
Thank you, mate. And obviously there's one more thing I want to finish up with, and it's a quote that needs to stick in everybody's mind. There is no use to being satisfied when things are done wrongly. I want perfection. Bill Nicholson. Okay, guys, so thank you for having me on. Guys, if you've got any questions towards me or Change for Spurs, please feel free to jump into the DMs. For you guys, especially that don't have X, for example, feel free to fire a question across to Brian. He'll forward it across and I'll be more than happy to give you support. But yeah, cheers for having me on.
No worries. So I will just say to end as always, like, comment, share, subscribe, and as always, Levy out.